All right, so today we are going to go over the Sawfest results. We always hear about the top 10 guys, but you never hear about anybody else really so much. And these are the honorable mentions, I would say. Basically, it's the next 10 finishers in each class. These are the guys that the top 10 guys need to be kind of like watching their back, watching out for these guys because they're sneaking up on them, you know what I mean? And it kind of gives these guys who didn't place in the top 10, kind of gives them an idea of just how close they are to get into a top 10 position. So the races are tight, you know what I mean? But what do you say we take a look at this list? And we're going to look at almost all the classes. I didn't do the cheap saws, which would be the pulling 295 or the pulling wild thing. And I didn't do the disc stack. But as far as the clones, all 3 clone builds, they are listed here in all the regular clones, or all the regular classes. So let's take a look and see how everybody did. All right, so these are what I would consider the honorable mentions. We're going to go through every class here, and we should give everybody, any of these people here, kind of a shot or a shout out or something for doing a great job. The top 10 names, you hear them a lot through discussion or whatever because they always finish towards the top. But these are the guys who are nipping at the heels. So those top 10 guys, these are the ones that they're kind of looking out for, being like, okay, who of these guys might be pushing to make their way up to our territory? You know what I mean? So I don't know. In a way, you could say any of you guys who are some of the top 10 finishers, these are the guys you want to watch out for. And if your name's on this list, you're doing great. And you're going to get to kind of see how much of a performance increase you need to get in order to start getting up into the top 10. Alrighty? So here's the 372 clone. The 10th place person was Ethan Trainer with 12.79 seconds. But we want to mention that the number 1 placed Saul was at 10.49 seconds. Just over 2 second difference between the first and the 10th position. And the 10th position here was Ethan Trainer. After that, we go to Steve McDowell with 12.86 seconds. Then Gary Buxton at 13.20 seconds. Then Chad Wilhelm at 13.61 seconds. Then to Morgan McInnes at 13.70 seconds. Then to Steve Rockefeller at 13.81. Shannon Wood got 13.90. John Cox got 14.01. Corey Knapp got 14.04. Doug Philbeck got 14.31, and T.W. Hodges got 14.37. These two guys, Doug and T.W., they know each other. And they almost got like a little battle going on here because they're so tight. That's the 372 clone. I did so horribly, I would be like way down here. I had a horrible run. But let's go on to the 660. So the 10th place position was Dave Smith with 12.31 seconds. But the first place person finished at 10.22 seconds. So again, we're looking at like a 2 second difference between the first place and the 10th place slot. So now we go to the next guy was Doug Philbeck at 12.48 seconds. Sean Carr at 12.53. And I think Sean Carr might have actually made 4 cuts here because he's usually top of the pack. So there's a chance this time is actually a 4-cut run, just to give you an idea how fast he is. After that is me at 12.56 seconds. So the 660 clone, we didn't do too bad, did we? Next, we got Steve Rockefeller at 12.83 seconds. Then Bodie Pennington at 12.86 seconds. Morgan McInnes at 12.99. Brad Hunt at 13.32. Corey Knapp at 13.45. T.W. Hodges at 13.86, and Scott Crum at 14.06. And if you're curious, the difference between the bottom and the top is 1.51 seconds on the 372 and 1.75 seconds on the 660 clone. So 1.5 seconds roughly between the bottom and the 10th place position. You need to increase your speed by 0.5 seconds roughly per cut in order to start moving up higher in the list. Now this is the 361 clone. The 10th place person was 6.55 seconds, and the first place was 4 seconds even. So 2.5 seconds faster between the first place and the 10th place. So Steve Rockefeller did 10th place at 6.55 seconds. After that, we got Rob and Walter at 6.60. Then Jody Hutton at 6.85. Then Corey Knapp at 7.14. Joe Backey at 7.35. Gary Buxton at 7.35. And me at 7.35. So Joe Backey, Gary Buxton, and myself, all three of us tied here at 7.35 seconds. After that, you got Scott Crum at 7.64 seconds. Shannon Wood at 7.85. Mike Boudreau at 7.96, and Jared Hoth at 8.08. And again, 1.5 second time difference between the 10 and the bottom. So that gives you an idea of how much faster you need to get in order to get towards the top 10 slot. All right, so now we're looking at the regular classes. The 3 cube, which is like your 50cc area. The 10th place position was 10.18 seconds, but the first place position was 7.89. That's all, what, 2.5 seconds? Maybe getting close to 3 seconds. A difference between the first and the 10th place position. Then you're going to notice this is a very tight race right here. This one here. Once you get past the 10th place position, it is a very tight competition to keep your name in here. So you got Jason Egan here at 10.18. Then you got Gary Barker at 11 even. Nate, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, Blacklassy or whatever. It's 11.08. Steve Rockefeller at 11.41. Bodie Pennington at 11.44. Jeff Stiegel at 11.52. Morgan McInnes, 11.63. Joe Backey, 11.80. Jared Hoth at 11.80. So these guys both tied at 11.80. And then you got Scott Crum at 11.82 and Chad Wilhelm at 11.99. Now, how many of these do you think were running a 550? The 550 is very popular in this class. I wonder how many of these guys were running a 550. You know what I mean? For how tight all of these times are. And again, our difference in time is 1.81 seconds. You know, a little over 1.5 seconds between the bottom and the top here. Now to the 4 cubes. This is your next one. This is like the 65cc run. Oh, I guess I should mention my run on the 3 cube. There was another one that I screwed up really super bad. I disqualified. So, and some of you guys may have got a time, but disqualified. So if you might have had a time that met in here, but because you had a disqualification, I did not include you in the list. I only included the people who actually got a good run. So, the 4 cube. Brad Hunt came in at the 10th place position at 11.94 seconds, and the top place was 10.72. So, a little over, a second and a half or whatever. This is another one that's pretty tight to compete in. I actually placed 9th in this one. So this is like your 65cc range. And I placed 9th on this one, which was surprising to me. But we got Brad Hunt at 11.94, then Joe Backey at 11.95, and Morgan and McInnes at 11.95. So these two here, Joe and Morgan, both tied here at 11.95. Then you got Ken Freeman at 12.04, Joe Harkness at 12.63, Gary Barker at 12.69. I'm not sure how to pronounce your first name. Is it Cleve Holcomb? You got 13.14. Steve Rockefeller at 13.32. Bonnie Pennington at 13.95. Jared Hoth at 14.60. And Mike Boudreau at 14.64. Now you're going to start noticing a bigger difference here. This is 2.7 seconds between the bottom and the top. This is the 5 cube class. Just Eagle got 10.53 seconds, and the first place guy got 8.67 seconds. So we're still looking at like a 2-second gap here between the first and the 10th position. But after Jeff, we got Steve Rockefeller at 10.68 seconds, Ken Freeman at 11.09, Sean Carr at 11.10, Cleve Holcomb at 11.51, Jody Hutton at 11.85, Chad Wilhelm at 11.96, Brad Hunt at 12.04, Joe Backey at 12.13, Gary Buxton at 12.47, Morgan McInnes was 12.56, and Doug Philbeck was 12.56. So I actually listed an extra one on this list because these two guys tied at 12.256 or 12.56 seconds. So Morgan and Doug, they're both listed here together at the bottom position because they tied. Again, we got roughly a 2-second difference between the bottom and the top. So if you're in here, you have an idea of how much more you need to increase your speed or whatever to, just try to get towards the top end, the top 10 list. So now we got the 6 cubes. 10th place was Joe Harkness at 13.39. And the first place guy was 11.20. So again, roughly 2 seconds, pushing, somewhere around 2 seconds there between the first and the 10th place. I think you guys are starting to see a pattern here, aren't you? But after Joe, we got Shannon Wood at 13.79. Then Nate Blaskley, I think it is, 13.81. Ken Freeman at 14.02. Bodie Pennington at 14.17. Doug Philbeck at 14.40. Then you got me right here at 14.48, which I'm surprised to be in here. That is my 385 build. I didn't think it performed this well, just by the feel of it. So I think if I gain a little bit more RPM out of that saw, I think we can move this thing up a good bit. But then we got Jody Hutton at 15.23, Robin Walter at 15.23. So these two guys tied right here at 15.23. Then we got Jeff Stiegel at 15.32, Brennan Cass at 15.53, and Chad Wilhelm at 15.79. 2.4 seconds between the bottom and the top. It gives everybody kind of an idea of how they're performing. These are the honorable mentions, or you can say the guys that the top 10 guys need to look out for. You know what I mean? And now they have kind of an idea of how much of a gain they need to get in order to start reaching towards the top 10. The races were really tight this year. Really tight. All right, so there we go. These guys, everybody did great on these races. Very tight. This is one of the tightest years that I've seen so far. And, it just, everybody is starting to get better. And I think because everybody's getting better at their craft, the races are getting tighter and tighter. You know what I mean? And those top 10 guys, I think they do need to start looking out a little bit, because all of these guys that you see listed here, these are guys these guys are all creeping up on them top 10 guys. And I think it's going to make it even more and more challenging as time goes on. You know what I mean? So, hey, I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll catch you in the next one. Later.